In this video, I'm going to explain what Saturn brings to each house, and the things that Saturn rules. It rules the sign of Capricorn and the house of career, the 10th house, normally. And it rules your father. It rules restrictions and conventions and structures and responsibilities, and it can be status seeking and persevering, and all of these themes that are on my video. You can see the themes that Saturn will bring. It brings all of the energy of the house and the sign that it rules. So wherever it is placed, when it goes to the first house, it brings all that when it goes into a house. So first house is the one we'll look at, but right now I'll show you where it normally sits. If I can get this to turn. Okay, that at the top there is where Capricorn is, and that 10th house in the chart. And Capricorns are ambitious and conservative and disciplined and methodical and persevering, and they can be political or realistic, responsible, rigid, serious, thrifty. They seek money, status, and power. And they can be loners, they can be uh, miserly and pessimistic, but that's on the more negative side. And so when Saturn goes to the next house, it brings with it all the traits of that house and that sign. And the first house is Aries, and Aries is ruled by Mars, and it rules this house of the self-image. It's a fire sign, and it's motivated and dynamic, and a cardinal sign. And so now that house is rules your self-identity, rules your self-will, your energy, your ambition, your assertiveness, your machismo, meaning your sexuality. It originally was the ruler of Scorpio, co-ruler of Scorpio, and rules sexuality. Rules your energy toward that, and your courage and your sense of action can be impatient, and like all fire signs, might have a quick temper, can be aggressive and driven toward attainment, and also, it's very active, can be a lot of exercise, do a lot of exercise if you're Aries, or feel very active and individualistic, enthusiastic and extroverted, and competitive. So anyway, when Saturn comes into that house, then it brings ambition it brings all the traits of Capricorn, which they want to attain power and want to attain status and money. So you'd put a lot more energy toward that, and it rules the house of career. So your identity might really be focused on career and your energy would be focused more on career while Saturn is transiting that house, or it could be focused on some structures and restrictions that you have, or government structure, or political matters, or rules and responsibilities, your limitations, your restrictions, um, your structures, any type of obstacle to what you're trying to achieve, and so your initiative might be slowed down by the energy of Saturn while it transits your first house. And then the second house is ruled by Taurus, and it's an earth sign. It's practical, persevering, and a fixed sign. And it rules the house of values, money, and possessions. And that's money that you earn through your own efforts. It rules luxuries and rich food and uh, the voice. Uh, so you could, wherever Saturn comes, it could bring a career through that. I didn't mention that on the Aries house. It could bring a career through your self-image somehow, or with the second house of Taurus, it could bring a career through use of your voice, and because Taurus rules the voice. And Venus rules that house, and it also rules the seventh house of partnerships and marriage that is ruled by Libra. And so it can affect that seventh house also, but the one we'll focus on right now is the Taurus house. And uh, so uh, it also brings rules and restrictions and methodical energy and responsibilities toward how the other traits of that sign. So you're mixing the Capricorn sign with the Taurus sign. They're both earth signs, so it'd be slower and more planning and more responsibility toward the way you make your money, or your values, or your luxuries and possessions. And it just might be more responsibility toward those matters. Might feel more conscientious about your love life, and feel restricted somehow, because Saturn and Capricorn, that house rules restrictions and limitations. And it also rules your father, and Venus rules females. So you could have some restrictions with your father, could put down restrictions on your love life, or restrict you somehow on, or help you somehow. Depends on the other aspects in your chart, with how you earn your money, or take you out for opulent food, and so you might spend more time with father while Saturn is transiting that house, that second house. um, and have some relaxation time, or enjoy some luxurious food and luxuries in general with your father, or with older men possibly, because Capricorn rules older men and your father both. Um, so those are some of the themes that will bring you to that house. And then we're talking about Gemini house, and that's the third house. And Gemini is an air sign. It's intellectual and adaptable and mutable, and it rules the house of the conscious mind and communications and siblings and elementary education, the way you learn, studies. Uh, that sign is ruled by Mercury, and it also rules Virgo, which is rules the house of work and health and daily routines. So anything that is affecting Mercury might affect your house of work, also that sixth house of Virgo. So the traits that we'll look at more what Gemini rules, which is your communications, and it could be talking on the phone, could be talking on the phone, or it could be working on a computer, or anything that learning. It could be any type of focused effort on something communicative, writing, or um, something that you want to focus on to learn, or focus on to talk about, to communicate about. And with Saturn there, you could make a career out of communication somehow, if it's in your birth chart, if Saturn's in that house. But while it's transiting there, you might feel more communicative, about things of your career, or you might maybe even feel restricted on what you are learning, or feel that it is more tedious and more rules to it, or more restricted in how you have to really focus on what you're learning or what you're communicating about. And this is short distance communication and your conscious mind that it is affecting. So like I say, Saturn slows down wherever it transits. It brings this methodical energy. So, and it also brings the energy of your father or older men. So you might have communications with your father or older men. And it could affect your daily routines and so forth, but we'll focus on that when we get to that other house, because the other house is Mercury rules is your daily routines and so forth. So then the next house is your house of home, and it's ruled by Cancer. And so what you're doing is combining Cancer with Capricorn, and the energy of Cancer and Capricorn. And so it's a water sign, Cancer is, and it's intuitive and can be psychic and dynamic, and it's a cardinal sign. And that house is, I think I've already said it, the house that rules home and mother. So you might have more connections with your home, and responsibilities at home, or the government, or political matters may affect your home, rules and restrictions. And maybe your father and your mother, your father would somehow be uh, more involved in your home matters, and with your mother, and or a main nurturer. The moon is your emotions and your feeling world. And so it could just be that your responsibilities, you really feel a lot about your responsibilities, that while Saturn is, you feel it's tedious, you feel things are tedious, and may feel a lot of emotions about your career, and rules and restrictions that you have, and feel that house, your home feels more restrictive somehow by your responsibilities, or by your father somehow. And That house rules sensitivity and empathy and so forth. You may feel that your emotions are somehow thwarted or slowed down, more methodical thinking, more feeling uh, like things are slowed down for you. You feel more introverted and conscientious about your responsibilities and your career. And you may even have, if you have Saturn in that house, you may have a career at home. The next house is a house of Leo, and it's the 5th house. And Leo is a fire sign. It's motivated and persevering, and it's a fixed sign. And it rules the house of entertainment and romance. And so when Saturn comes into that house, it brings all of the traits of Capricorn with it, and the house of Capricorn, and that methodical energy to your, or restrictive energy, or your structured energy. Maybe you really structure your creative life while Saturn is in there, and while Saturn is affecting it. Or you might feel that your romantic life is restricted, or maybe your father might have some effect on your career. I mean, on your sense of entertainment. Uh, Now, the sun rules your ego, and how you create and how you come across to other people, how you show up, how you entertain, how you your sense of romance and so forth. And with Capricorn coming there and Saturn coming there, bringing the energy of Capricorn and that house, it's a methodical, possibly political, possibly governmental um, energy. So, you could actually entertain yourself through political matters or governmental matters, or by um, by structuring things, by making things structured. That may be how you create, if you've got Saturn in your house, in your natal chart. But while it goes through that house, it might affect your career, might take on a more entertaining um, note to it, or you could uh, have maybe I keep going back to it. It's probably limiting your sense of entertainment, or limiting, or structuring, or making you slow down and think more about how you create, how you uh, entertain yourself, how your romance and so forth might be restricted, because that's the action of Saturn. It restricts. So next house is the house of Virgo, and that's your daily routines and health habits, and house of work. And it's ruled by Virgo, an earth sign, which is practical and adaptable and mutable, and rules any kind of caregiving, so, and nursing and so forth. If you have Saturn there in your natal chart, you might have a career in caregiving, um, or just be really methodical and tedious about how you go about your daily routines, and take care of your family or take care of your habits or your health. You might have a real focus on responsibilities and limitations and habits, tasks that you undertake daily. So, like I say, it also rules, Mercury also rules the house of communication. So you might have, from home, you might talk a lot about your work and so forth. And when Saturn is in that house, you might have some, while it transits that house, you might create, have tasks that involve your career because Saturn rules the career house. And so your work and your career is combining. So you might in your work, it may become a career during that time that it transits, or if you have it in your natal chart, if you have Saturn in your natal chart, it may be a career that is somehow caregiving and somehow involved in health work or routines and organizing, analyzing. Virgo is an analyzing sign, and it's dedicated and discriminating and efficient and helpful and logical and practical and precise and punctual and responsible, and can be critical, can be worrying, can be fussy. So you might bring, I mean, all of those things might be affected by Saturn coming in there. Suddenly it feels more tedious to all of your things that you want, all the details might really become a focus. All of they might feel really hard or slowed down. You might really have to focus on the details and be more analytical than usual. So then the next house is the seventh house of partnerships and marriage, and this is every kind of partnership, not just your marriage, but any kind of partnership that you can think of. So now the Libra is an aesthetic sign. It's artistic and wants everything balanced and charming and elegant, and it can be a cooperative effort energy, and it's extroverted and flirtatious and gracious and idealistic and indecisive and kind and a peacemaker, refined energy and sociable energy. And so when Saturn comes there, all those things would feel more tedious and slowed down, and maybe you'll have restrictions on the feelings toward your partner or toward your marriage. You might have to really work at it. You might be more structured or feel you need to be more structured and responsible with your partners and marriage. It just your career may affect your partners and your marriage, or uh, your marriage may affect your career. So um, they're working together, and also that affects the other house that Venus rules, which is your house of values and money and so forth. So all of that combines the energy together. Your love life, your marriage life, your sense of justice and fairness might feel more restricted, or might the government might be involved somehow, or structures, political matters might be focused on, while Saturn transits that house. Yeah. So the next house is that of Scorpio, and that's the 8th house of it rules death, sex, and rebirth and transformations, and it's ruled by Scorpio. It's a water sign, intuitive and psychic and persevering, and it's a fixed sign. So the traits of a Scorpio are competitive, courageous, determined, forceful, introverted, magnetic, mysterious, powerful, probing, possessive, resourceful, secretive, strong-willed, can be fixated or jealous and suspicious. And that house rules your secrets and your psychological makeup, your obsessions, can rule the occult and death, and your sexuality, your inner power. It can rule money coming to you from outside sources, and the traditional ruler is Mars, which rules your identity. So, and also the sexuality too. So your energy toward your self-image and so forth. If Saturn comes here, it could structure you in how you or slow you down in all of those matters. It can cause a slow transformation. And Pluto was in Saturn until recently. Pluto has now gone into Aquarius, but it was restructuring governmental and political matters, and now it is, with it being in Aquarius, it's restructuring society at large. So anyway, where Pluto is, it's transformative energy, and with Saturn coming into that house, it might slow you down on all the matters that are ruled by Scorpio and by the house of Scorpio. So you might focus more or feel more responsible in matters that of money that comes to you from outside sources, or more responsible in how you handle sexuality, or you may have the responsibility of having to deal with a death, or your transformations, or your psychological world, or your obsessions. You might feel restricted on those matters, or your secrets. Might have political secrets if you have that as a, if Saturn is in that house natally. You might have political secrets, or you might become aware of political secrets and the government secrets while that is transiting there. Might affect your career somehow, or your father somehow. It might be a connection with older men that, and men in general, because Mars rules men in general. So you might find out some secrets about sexuality and men, and or your father, or about a death, or about something occult, or something that is dealing with money coming to you from outside sources. So the next house is Sagittarius, ruled by Sagittarius, and it's a fire sign, and it's motivated and adaptable and mutable. And it rules the house of the higher mind, long distance and foreign travel and connections. and religion, and it's known as the traveler. And let's see, having trouble when I click this, it's not turning. Anyway, so if Saturn comes here, you might find some kind of responsibilities and restrictions or limitations or governmental matters or political matters that are long distance and or foreign. You may have travel in your career that is over long distances or connected with foreign matters or foreign communications or foreign travel. And so now that house and Jupiter, that they rule good fortune and abundance and expansion and philosophy and formal religion and theology, so, and mentors. So you may come across a mentor that is from a foreign country, or a long distance mentor, or um, could be that your father is involved somehow because of of his, Saturn ruling the father. Maybe your father would travel with you a long distance and to a foreign country or something, or could just be a religious matter. Your father could be religious, you could deal with your father's religion, or your father could have effect on your religion while Saturn transits that house, or he could have some effect on your philosophies or a long distance matters that you deal with. Um, and it could maybe have some restrictions or fears connected to travel, or fears connected to something to do with your religion, or um, travel, long distance travel. Now, if you have that natally, you might have a career that involves long distance travel and foreign communications, and possibly a religious matter or theological or philosophical matter that you have as a career. And the next house is the house of Capricorn, which is all that same energy that we've been working with, which is methodical, slow, responsible, structured, and it's also ambitious and status seeking. It seeks money, status, and power, and it can be political and governmental and rigid, could be responsible and persevering energy. And so it's double the trouble, double the trouble, double the fun. Anyway, so you might have a lot of communications with your father or older men. You might have governmental and political things to organize, and responsibilities that involve the government or your father, or um, maybe extra focus on your career, extra focus on rules and regulations and structures and just all your responsibilities that are involved in your career and your duties. So yeah, and that was while that is a double amount of effort toward your career when Saturn transits that house. And then this is when Saturn transits the house of Aquarius, which Aquarius is an air sign. It's intellectual, it's persevering, it's a fixed sign, and it rules the house of society at large and friendships, the 11th house. And Aquarius are altruistic and friendly and humanitarian, inventive, individualistic, intellectual, logical, perceptive, rebellious, unique, unpredictable, visionaries, eccentric, erratic, impersonal, rebellious. Those can be some of the traits that they have. And so when Saturn is transiting there, you might haven't focused, your career might focus on some revolutionary type things that affect the collective of society. Anyone with planets up at that left hand top corner usually affect society on a large scale somehow. And it's the house of gains, so you might your career might gain, you might gain through your career while Saturn transits there. And it also rules big tech and a sudden unexpected explosive energy, or it rules electricity and lightning. So the theme is unexpected, and this unconventional energy, and Saturn will restrict that type of energy, or make you structure that type of energy. Maybe you'll figure out while Saturn is transiting that house, you might figure out how you're going to revolutionize something that you've been working on, or revolutionize something that will affect society at large, or um, it's an urge toward freedom. Aquarius has an urge toward freedom and individuality. So uh, Saturn might structure that more. You might be slowed down in that effort to be more individual, or restructure how you are an individual. Decide how your career wants to, how you want to show up through your career, and conduct your individuality. And the traditional ruler of that house is also Saturn. So it could be governmental or political structure also. So, and anything political and governmental affects society at large. So it could be just that you want to revolutionize society, and Saturn gives you the structure to do it. So while it transits that house, it can make you focus and find realistic ways to revolutionize. And uh, Aquarius and Uranus, it rules ingeniousness and inventiveness and inventions, generally inventions, and unique, unusual, odd, out of the ordinary thinking, and um, uh, out of the box thinking. You come up with um, ideas that are revolutionary. And so that might be involved. You might structure your inventive thinking while Saturn is in that house. And when Saturn comes to the 12th house of Pisces, Pisces is a water sign. It's intuitive and psychic and adaptable and mutable. It rules the house of the unconscious and spirituality. And it's this nebulous energy that has no boundaries. It has no boundaries to your imagination and creativity. And it's idealistic, and Pisces are artistic, charitable, creative, dedicated dreamers. They're humble and imaginative and impressionable and idealistic and introverted and mystical and peaceful and serious and spiritual, and can be timid, can be escapist or indecisive. And while Saturn goes through that house, it could make you focus that energy, focus your imagination, or be more strict about your um, what you imagine, or be more structured in what you imagine. Uh, uh, might might find a way to structure your spirituality into a career if you have that as a natal placement, or divine connection. You could be use spirituality and divine connections as your career, and Saturn would give you the way to do it because it structures things. So um, uh, or your father could help you with your spirituality or your divine connection, or the things that you imagine that you want to create. It does rule the house of loss, and so it rules addictions and hospitalizations and isolation, and so you might feel restricted and isolated while Saturn is there. It could cause that. The traditional ruler of that house is Jupiter, and that's a fortunate thing. It deals with long distance and foreign communications, and so it adds that energy, and theology and formal religion was what it rules. So that combines with the spiritual house, spiritual energy. So with Saturn, you might feel like structuring your spirituality into more of a formal religion somehow, or your illusions and your imagination. You might structure your imagination and your unconscious motivations. You might restrict your unconscious motivations. You might feel restricted, um, or maybe less ability to feel imaginative, or feel somehow slowed down in your imagination, because Saturn slows things down where it is. It's more of a how you operate through limitations and responsibilities and rules, and your fears can come to the surface, and you might feel more focused on your fears or your obstructions and your limitations. It's like this teaching it's teaching you to slow down and structure what it touches. So it could structure your unbounded energy of the Pisces and that house. That house is without boundaries. It's like water. It's water sign, so it's the water is unrestricted unless you restrict it. And so Saturn might give you those limitations and restrictions you need to structure it. Structure your thought, structure your what's going on under the surface of your mind. But anyway, that's the last slide, and so thanks for listening.